Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, a podcast sponsored by the FUSE ICT and produced in the Elliott School of Communication right here at Wichita State. I'm Jessica Newman.
And I'm Bobby Berry. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. So today we're going to be talking about applied learning and how Wichita State and the College of Applied Studies has embraced this hands-on approach to learning.
So let's start out by just simply defining applied learning a little bit. It is kind of a buzzword in the industry today, and everyone says that they want more of it, but a lot of students and faculty may not realize exactly what that means. So for the sake of today's conversation, when we say applied learning, we're talking about an approach to learning in which students engage in direct application of the skills and the theories that they are learning. So this application could and oftentimes does happen outside of the classroom, but it's also been really successfully embedded into classroom instruction as well. So it's a real-world style of instruction, and it's something that's been a part of our Wichita State educational culture for a long time, and it's something that, quite frankly, we do really well. So today I want to introduce you to two WSU faculty who have really pioneered a lot of the excellent work within this realm of applied learning. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Mark Vermillion, Chair of Sport Management, and subsequently also the Workforce Leadership and Applied Learning program that is going to be one of our main topics of discussion today. And then also joining us on the show is Ricki Ellison. Ricki is the advisor for sport management as well as a clinical educator within the sport management degree. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start with Mark, my favorite person. So we are so glad that you're here to share your perspective as someone who has spearheaded several successful applied learning initiatives and models on our campus. So the most recent, which has been the Workforce Leadership and Applied Learning degree program. So first off, why did you create this degree program, and what do you feel the benefits are for our students who are majoring and or minoring in this program?
Yeah, it really goes back to responding to needs. And a few years ago, President Bardot, before he passed away, came to the College of Applied Studies, and he really wanted to put together a Bachelor's of Applied Sciences degree. And so that was given to us, and we started looking, and with this philosophy of trying to respond to key stakeholder needs, we really looked at current students, potential students, and then those community partners or practitioners. And it really came back to, okay, leadership degree and being able to develop a degree program that kind of merged the idea of not just applied learning, but also interpersonal skill development, those types of things. And really when you start looking at the modern organization that so many people are going to be a part of, we're trying to train students for jobs that may not actually exist currently. So we need to develop that robust skill set. And so when you talk about the benefits for students that are going to be majoring and minoring in a program like this, it's going to be a couple different things. For me, it's the applied learning aspect, or the way I think about it, boots on the ground, on the job training, where you're able to take those concepts and ideas from the classrooms, and you're really able to take those and use them every single day in whatever organization you're going to be a part of. And then also this whole idea of flexibility, I think, is really, really key, because not every student has the exact same story, and they're going to be at different points in their life, and they're going to have different needs. And so we really wanted to put together a degree program that responded to those ever-changing needs, and that's where the flexibility comes in. And so if you're looking for, developing that robust interpersonal skill set, the way that you do that is through applying these things every single day. And so whether it's leadership communication, emotional intelligence, all those different types of things, being able to resolve conflict. To talk about those is one thing, but to actually have to engage with those ideas on a day-to-day basis, that's another. And that's kind of the main impetus for putting together the program, and hopefully those are some of the main benefits for students.
Now, Mark, how long have you been here at Wichita State?
Oh, it's been a while. January of 2006.
Okay,
so been around.
Right. So I'm assuming over time you've seen this evolution of this whole concept of applied learning. And so can you just kind of share from your perspective and from the various roles in which you've held, when did you kind of start noticing that shift? And do you think that's really shifted our student body?
Yeah, it's really interesting, because this is, as Jessica was saying earlier, this is really part of the DNA of Wichita State. And I think that's pretty unique within higher education. So when I came here, and of course being embedded within sport management, even back then, applied learning was part and parcel to our degree program. always. But even at the university level, we had cooperative education, a lot of these other offices. So this is something that has been built into the fabric of Wichita State, and I think that's really important. And so as students are coming in, as students kind of matriculate year after year after year, you have students that are coming in with different needs, different ideas, but I think one of the attractive things about Wichita State or this degree program or the College of Applied Studies or whichever college that you're involved with at the university is that it's required for all students to engage in this type of learning. And I think that's something that really sets us apart from other institutions of higher education. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just simply part of who we have been for a very long time, at least since 2006, since I've been here.
Okay. And so that kind of brings me to you, Ricki, because with your variety of roles, first I'm going to ask what those roles are. So if you just at least tell us your current position as a clinical educator for sport management, what classes do you teach? And then obviously when you aren't teaching, you advise. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But first, what do you teach?
So currently I teach in the sport management department a sport and technologies course, so SMGT 300. I teach 2 sections of that. I teach, co-teach actually with Mr. Bobby Berry, the selling in the sport industry, SMGT 511, and then I oversee 2 practicums.
And so we'll talk about that idea of the practicums and kind of how that kind of folds into some of these things here. Like I said, when you're not teaching, you're also advising. So in between advising, teaching, and then also overseeing this practicum, what are some of the common themes that you're hearing from our students when we talk about applied learning?
Yeah, so students really want to make sure that they're getting the upper hand because as students are going through programs here at the university and college, they're seeing, okay, I am maybe potentially a 3.5 GPA and I'm going to be graduating with 100 other students with the same degree that may have higher GPAs, lower GPAs, more involvement. So what's going to set me apart? What's going to make me different that I can speak to in an interview, something that I can put on my resume, or how can I update my LinkedIn, again, with credentials that are going to set me apart so that I'm the one who is selected for that job. Especially going into an industry that is of high demand, that is a desirable industry. And when you think about putting in all this time and this effort and this work through your college experience, you want to ultimately land that job that you're hoping to work for upon graduation. And so that's really one of the biggest themes. These students want to learn the foundational information, but they also want to know how to apply what they're learning from the classroom to their everyday walk.
So I think one of the things that I've noticed, especially being able to be coordinator for this program, is that it's often that you see that these students are coming into our spaces and they're trying to figure it out. So whether it be freshman, junior, senior, doesn't matter. They're trying to figure it out. And so one thing that I've really loved and appreciated from this program is the fact that we're helping them figure out. Our intention is to help figure it out. Whether you're a returning adult, because we've had a diverse group of students in this degree, from returning adults, all races, ethnicities, whatever. And so I have been able to really appreciate the fact that we've created a degree program that is really focused on those soft skills, those things that are translating from a variety of careers, and that are really benefiting all different types of people. So I've really appreciated that from being able to have this degree program around.
Yeah, so let's go back to that practicum that you oversee, Ricki. The practicum is required, yes, of all of your sport management students?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so can you just tell us a little bit about what that experience typically looks like?
Yes, so the practicum, one of the reasons why I love the fact that we have this integrated into our degree program as a requirement is because it's not formalized in the sense where it has to be an internship or it has to be paid or it has to be at a certain specific location. It's flexible. So let's say you are just trying to get an idea of an industry that you think you may like. I think I may want to be a marketing person for the wind surge. but I'm not too sure exactly because I've just started my program and I'm just now getting the foundations of the industry. And so you can go and shadow. You can do shadowing opportunities that will count towards your practicum hours. You can solidify a paid internship that will also count towards your practicum hours. It's so flexible to that initial introduction into the working field. So you're not so structured or so stuck into a role where it's okay, now I'm here for 40 hours and I have to do this for this grade. It can be fluid, flexible. You can have 5 different sites. You can shadow 10 different people to get your hours in. We really want you to just get an understanding of the industry, the job requirements, what a day in the life looks like, so that you can better make those decisions, so that you can decide, okay, you know what? Marketing is not the direction I want to go. I thought that that's what I would like and enjoy, but it's not. I actually like the sales side of it a little bit more. You're able to narrow your focus as you're continuing to be educated about the foundations of this industry.
I didn't realize it was that flexible. Like, that's really cool. When on a student's career path do they typically start their practicum hours?
Usually between their sophomore and junior year. So sophomore, second semester. They can also do summertime if they are able to find an opportunity over the summertime. And then first semester, junior year. We really want to get it early in their program as they are taking sport management courses, again, so that they can kind of narrow that focus, so that when they do start to look for their internship opportunities, which will come in their senior year, they have a more narrow focus to be able to kind of penetrate into the industry in the area that they want to go into.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we've talked a lot about this push for applied learning, and you guys certainly do it in a very strong, very consistent capacity. So if everybody is wanting these applied learning experiences, from students to employers, et cetera, do you have any thoughts or ideas as to why these types of things have not been implemented, nationwide at more campuses? Why do you think people are resistant to doing something like this?
I would have to say because it's a risk. At the end of the day, you are taking time to go explore industries. You're having to partner with companies that have deliverables day in and day out. I like to say that's the big kid jobs,
right?
Where you're talking about people's livelihoods are on the line, and you're going to give this deliverable to someone who may not have as much at stake as that other person does. And so there are some risk to a company or an organization, an industry opening its doors saying, we welcome internship opportunities, we welcome students to come and learn, which ultimately means that they could mess up. And if your job hinges on accuracy and being correct, maybe you're not able to take that risk. And so not only from the academic side, we don't want to be putting our students out there to where they feel like they're failing and they just lost the company $1 million based off of a decision that they made.
Right.
We don't want to do that. And then we also don't want an industry worried about that happening as well.
Yeah, I know that, you guys place, interns and shadowing opportunities all over the country, but I feel like in Wichita specifically, we've over the years have created a really nice environment that fosters, from both the student side as well as the employer side, that idea of they're getting experience, so they are students, but also they do have to deliver something. So it's kind of a give and take on both sides, it seems like. And I'm sure that was not easy for us to create, over the past however many years we've been working on it. So that's some great insight. Thanks, Ricki.
So Mark, that leads me back to you. So let's talk a little bit more about our workforce leadership and applied learning degree. So you said flexibility. So that was important to you as you created the vision for this program. Why was that?
I think a lot of it's difficult with how expensive higher education is, that you want to make sure that everyone involved is getting that return on investment. And not every student is at the same place in their life when they kind of seek out the institution of higher education. Some folks start and then maybe they take 3, 4, 5, 10, dozen-year break, and then they come back, right? So everyone has a unique story. And so we don't necessarily want to punish people if they take a break, or we don't necessarily want to put undue burdens on people that deny the opportunity for higher education, because the whole point of what we're all trying to do is provide skill sets, but really provide something that changes and transforms people's lives. And if it changes people's lives, then it's going to change families' lives, which is then going to change communities. And that's what we're trying to do with higher education. So we wanted to try to take out as many barriers as possible so that we can still have that positive impact. And if you think about, we're trying to have impact not just on Wichita, not just on Kansas, not just on a region, right? We're trying to make as a wide impact as possible. And the way that we're able to do that is providing opportunities for people to better themselves, whether that's a certificate, whether that's a full-on master's degree, a doctorate degree. Maybe it's just taking one class is what really sets someone up for success in a potential job or things like that. And so that's at least as we were putting this program together, that's what we kind of held in our mind's eye as we were moving forward in construction, and that sense of being able to adapt to anyone's story and circumstances.
And I think that's fitting with, how higher education has really changed over the last few years. The types of individuals coming into our campuses and our classrooms, they're looking different. The industry needs and those partnerships are looking different. And so with that being said, in this ever-evolving culture of higher education, where do you see this degree going in the next 2 to 5 years?
I think there's so many different opportunities. It's kind of hard to quantify.
Yeah.
Because it really is based upon the people coming into the degree. Mm-hmm. You can sort of see some industries that maybe en masse are guiding individuals potentially to a degree like this or some other degree that's similar. But then you might see individuals that have very, very unique circumstances. I don't necessarily have a prescription for it, and I don't necessarily have a crystal ball that says, okay, I think this is where we're going to go. But I think what we're going to do is provide a lot of different opportunities, and what I see the degree doing is being able to impact people. That's it. Whether that's a major, whether that's a minor, because that's the other thing too, and you've worked on this, so you know exactly what I'm talking about, is that minor is really, really important. So maybe you are majoring in something that's more healthcare related or engineering or science related. It doesn't necessarily matter. But oftentimes in companies, what they do is you promote people to leadership positions based off of seniority, not skill set, right? And that there's I don't want to say flaws in that system, but sometimes that's not a win-win situation for everyone, right? And so anytime you can get some additional training, some credentialing, some skills that really augment that idea of being able to be impactful within your organization and develop those leadership skills, which is potentially going to be separate than maybe some of the other skill sets that you develop within a current major. That's really what we hope to be doing, is just instead of looking at hard metrics like numbers and things like that, it's more about, is this degree, are the majors, the minors, all those different things, is it having a positive impact? And the way that we sort of quantify that is we listen to students, and then we listen to those organizational community partners. They're going to be the ones that tell us whether this is successful or what we need to change or evolve moving forward.
So the thing that you kept saying and that resonated really well with me was impact. Mm-hmm. And so, what impact have you seen thus far with whether it be the partners or the students that have come through already? So can you tell us a little bit about the impact that you've seen already?
I think it's been interesting. I mean, the degree hasn't been around very long, and just in this sort of inaugural cohort of students, every single student had a different story, they were at a different point in their life. Some had full-time jobs, some were more in the career exploration, and some were in between. And that's been something that I think is really interesting to watch, is that, whenever you start looking at reports or Excel spreadsheets or things like that, and you start to boil down students to numbers, like sometimes as an administrator, you can kind of forget that these numbers are people, and these people have families, and these people have experiences and circumstances and emotions and those types of things. And so to me, that's kind of what this has been. It's been sort of a nice chance to sort of reconnect and see that, higher education, there is no one prescription. There is no, one right way to do this. It needs to be something that's available for people to consume as they are ready to consume it, whether that's 17, 18, 19 years old, or whether that's 30, 40, 45. It doesn't, when you're ready to consume that information and really start to put those credentials and stack them together, that's when you're ready to access this opportunity.
And so with some of the relationships that you guys have been able to establish, can you tell us a little bit about some of the other partners within the industry or the affiliations that you have thus far with this degree program, just to kind of show that level of flexibility?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. I mean, we have the Partnership Alliance, which is a group of organizations that want to be sort of like an advisory council. So they provide, feedback for the degree program. But also, it's, when you look at the diversity of experiences of people and some of the organizational ties that they have, we've had people that said, okay, I'm interested in something like hospitality management. So being able to work and have that flexibility, right? Being able to work with institutions that grant applied associate's degrees and being able to work. And so what that does is those applied associate degrees oftentimes come from a variety of different industries, whether you're talking about hospitality management, if you're talking about kind of first responders or emergency and public services, so EMTs and paramedics and things like that. And so what we want to do is create an opportunity where they can plug in, they can bring their diverse set of experiences, get some schooling in terms of, building those interpersonal skill sets, focusing on that leadership, and then being able to apply it in the applied learning. But we have all these different folks from, whether you're involved in different aspects of healthcare, there's manufacturing, kind of public administration aspect, if you're talking about, public finance officers and things like that. There's just a variety of folks that say, I see how that connects with what we're doing on the day-to-day. And it really comes back to whether you're in public administration, whether you're in, hotel restaurant management, these are going to be working with people. And that's kind of the undercurrent of the degree. It's about working with people more so than one specific industry.
Now, one thing is I look at you both as ambassadors in your own way. So Mark really spearheading this whole program as a whole, but Ricki, from your vantage point of being an advisor and working with students who are most likely minoring in the program, what is the selling point? Like, how do you convince a student, like, this would be a great minor and this would really enhance your academic career? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, the flexibility is absolutely amazing, but the fact that you can use it in any industry, no matter where you're going to go. That is really the biggest selling point. So students who are on the fence about what area they want to go into, they know that no matter what, they're going to be working with people. And the majority of them want to be in some sort of leadership role. And so when I hear that, immediately I say, well, again, you're going to be working closer with people and with a consistent group of people. And so for you to understand how the workforce works, how does leadership look, what type of leader am I, to be able to evaluate yourself and be in a safe space to do that, where you can be yourself, you're learning, and it's not on the job learning. When you have an employee come to you who's angry and you have to figure it out, you're getting set up with the tools to be successful, to go ahead and not have that situation even happen. And so when I'm talking to the students who are interested in that as a minor, it's an easy sell, because at the end of the day, these are skills that are essential in every walk of life, at every level, and it's just going to be how you deploy them.
And so, Ricki, some of our listeners may not know this about you. I've known you for a lot of years, and something that's really unique about your experience in higher ed is how many different vantage points that you've seen it from.
Yes.
From a coach to a teacher to an advisor to a student. What types of maybe changes have you seen across our student body as a whole, as we have really embraced this concept of enhancing the amount of applied learning experiences that we're offering.
So one of the things that I have noticed, this is kind of a society thing, but we hear often that this generation doesn't stay in jobs for a long period of time. It's not like I'm going to go get my job and I'm going to write it out till retirement, 40 years, and then I'm good. You could even call it the swirler method. As
I've never heard that. I like it.
Yeah, the swirler method. And so you are, I like it because you are swirling around to different areas to be able to get a diverse background of experiences. I mean, I could even say that that's a little bit of what I've done, just like you said, from coaching to recruitment to teaching. And it just gives you different perspectives to evaluate, to decision make behind. And I have seen an increase in our students wanting to do something similar. And so when they are looking at different jobs, they're not isolated to one or two roles. They are open to working in the front office, to physical labor, to working in facilities. They're open to a lot of areas. And so the applied learning has really come into play because, you don't really know the nuances of a job until you get into that job.
Right.
We walk in and say, I would love to work for the Dallas Cowboys because they're my favorite team. And then I walk through the doors and I'm like, no, I actually don't want to work for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't ever get to watch a game anymore. I don't get to be a fan anymore because I'm on the concourse selling box seats to folks who get to enjoy the game. And so there are so many things that you just don't get from looking from the outside of a job or looking at a job description. And so that's why the applied learning side is so important, is because you get to get in there and you get to witness firsthand, what am I going to be doing on a daily basis? What are the responsibilities that are going to be tasked of me? And do I feel like I can match that? Do I feel like I would be happy doing that? Does it match with my own personal values and morals that I am bringing to the table with this job as well?
Absolutely.
So in closing, Mark, is there any place that if a listener is listening to us today and they want to find additional information on the Workforce Leadership and Applied Learning degree, where would they go to find that information?
Well, of course, we have all the traditional things, social media, the website, all that kind of stuff. They're more than welcome to reach out to you, bobby.berry@wichita.edu, as the person that heads up all the applied learning for that. That'd be a great start. They could reach out to me as well. I'm not quite as charismatic, so I think I would probably usher them to you. But we do have, strong advising as well within the College of Applied Studies. And the one thing that's really nice is that even though this is a non-sport degree, it was, started by all of us in the sport management department. So even people that just know that aspect of it, they can reach out to us, and then we can kind of usher them in the right direction. One thing I will say, and I'm going to go back for just a little bit because I want to jump in real quickly. You were talking about, the value of applied learning, and I think something that's really, really important is that there's ROI for everyone involved, right? For students, we know that higher education, as we were talking about before, is really expensive. So this gives them a chance to really test out, as you were talking about, Ricki, all those different careers, so they know exactly, hey, I'm putting this money towards this thing that I know I want to do. But for the employers as well, or for the people that work in those organizations, if they take the time to really help out and support that applied learning, then potentially they're able to hire an employee that on day one is able to make a quantifiable impact because they've already been trained. They've already gone through that whole process, so you're shortening the onboarding process quite a bit. So I would just kind of put that plug out there. And anyways, didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No. No,
yes.
when boss man wants to talk, you let boss man
let
talk.
him talk.
That's an important fact.
That is.
So once again, we just want to say thank you guys so much for taking a time out of your busy schedules to give us a little bit more of a background and understanding on applied learning. So thank you, Mark, and thank you, Ricki.
As always, Let's Talk About It brings you both the professional perspective as well as the student perspective. We always want to make sure that our listeners see what these ideas and concepts that we're talking about actually look like in practice in the real world. So that said, I'd like to introduce you all to Jordan Brown, who is a senior this year in our workforce leadership program. So Jordan has agreed to come and share some of his experiences with us on the show today. Thank you so much, Jordan. We're delighted to have you.
No problem.
All right, Jordan, so let's start off by having you give us a little bit of your background. So obviously, the Workforce Leadership and Applied Learning Degree program is a recent program within the last couple of years. So what were you majoring prior to, and what made you transition to this program?
Well, I switched around to a lot of majors. I just decided recently, like probably a year and a half ago, that I wanted to go to law school. And then looking at the options I had for undergrad here, pre-law is not it's not something that's really a focus on this campus, which is okay, but I've already invested so much time here. But I've switched between probably 5 different majors. I know the average is about 3, but I just really couldn't decide what to pick until I'm ready for law school. So I picked workforce leadership just because it's very convenient for me. I get on-the-job training while getting, the skills and the direct learning I need, because I need hands-on stuff to keep me focused. And I think since I've joined the workforce leadership degree, my GPA has gone up tremendously.
And so do you attribute that to being able to take time in this particular program where it's not so much you're focusing on, studying for X amount of tests and exams and quizzes, but really having the opportunity to think more about, how does this program and what are the soft skills that you need to further yourself as far as law school? Do you think it's because of that, or what would you attribute that to?
Yeah, I would agree with that, and also just motivation. I feel like motivation is a key contributor to everything, because of course everyone could do all these things, but motivation is the difference between good and great, and even bad from good. I feel like this degree definitely helped with, of course, my GPA, but also keep me focused in school. I think it's helped me in all facets.
Wow. And the funny thing is, I'm coordinator for that program, so I've had the ability to and the opportunity to speak to a few students, and they've said that it's at least helped them zero in and really focus on what their intention is for their degree. It's not just like a typical degree where, this is what you do with it once there's a certain prescribed option, for when you're done. This degree is almost the gateway for you to be able to enter whatever arena that you want to. So I've heard that mindset, so I appreciate you elevating that. So I know you pretty well, and I know that you've been very involved and very engaged over your time here on this campus. And so if you could, beyond academics, obviously, tell us about some of the other things that you've been involved with over your time here at Wichita State.
Okay, I'll start with the one I feel like is something I've been involved with heavily, which is the Black Student Union. That probably was the gateway for me to get into everything on campus. I got involved with student affairs, met some pretty important people on this campus, met some mentors, but I would say that is the main one. I was also orientation leader on campus. I was part of SGA for a little bit here and there. I've also been a part of other cultural orgs, just joining and supporting whatever they do. And just, I do whatever I feel like is needed, or do I feel like is cool enough for me to contribute to. So if there's anything with like first generation stuff going on, or anything that the Office of Diversity and Inclusion puts on, and anything student affairs dabbles in, I'm always there to help out and support and just be there and be a student.
You can always give a shout out to your fraternity as well.
I could, okay. Also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We do a lot of voting initiatives. We do a lot of just a little bit of everything. We're just very involved on campus, and I love them for it. It's really great.
We had Ricki here earlier, and her husband subscribes to a different fraternity, but that's okay. So anyways, with that being said, can you tell us kind of your current situation? I know a lot of our students on this campus, they work and they go to school. And so kind of tell us what that process has been like for you thus far.
Like on the job training, like it's great that I can get paid and get schoolwork done. Like that is like the ultimate thing. It's super cool. It definitely saves me time and helps me with my financial goals too, because being a student, most of us are pretty limited as far as finances or need lots of support. But this kind of gives me a chance to kind of fight for myself and kind of just help things out in other arenas, because things can get expensive, books can get expensive, and if I can work while doing schoolwork, that just makes it all the better.
Have you always had a job while being a student?
I've always had a job while being a student, but I think that contributes to my grades going up too, just because I'm focused on whatever work is in front of me, and that work happens to be my homework as well, so I don't have to spend other hours outside of work, as much, to get things done and stress myself out. I feel a lot more stress-free than before.
That's awesome. What is your job now?
Right now, I am an intern, sales and marketing intern for this startup called Franchise Accelerators.
Oh, very cool.
If you want to know about it, it's a company that has a database for franchises and get people to start learning about investments and just things they're just give them options and stuff and make sure their franchise actually takes off. So they do a lot of digital work too. They do a lot with sales, and they kind of almost like help with starting up your franchise. And so I thought I was really interested. I was really interested when I saw it on LinkedIn, and being with them has been the best thing I've learned so far. It's probably one of the best internships I've had.
That's interesting. I didn't know. I mean, I guess I always assumed that the overarching company helped set up a franchise, which of course they do, but I didn't know there was targeted, customized, companies that help people do that. That's a really neat resource.
Yeah, I actually found them out by, I found them about when I was on LinkedIn, I was looking for startups because I wanted to learn from the ground up just to see what's going on, and if I was to swing to arena on the law side, how would that happen and all that. And it's been really cool. I've been learning from, so I work right alongside with the CEO, and it's been amazing. I've learned so much.
Wow.
And that's one of the great things about this degree is, as these students are entering different types of applied learning experiences, like Mark had talked about earlier, the amount of hours that these students spend on the job to learn different aspects of what it takes to actually translate to their particular career. And I think that's been one of the greatest things. And I think for a period of time, you were doing some of your applied learning hours over in the College of Applied Studies as well. So what were you doing when you were in that particular office?
Well, I was working under Andrew Myers in the College of College of Applied Studies now. Yeah, sorry about that. College of Applied Studies. I was working in the office with all the advisors and just learning from them and just hanging out with them. They're really good people. They've helped me in different aspects as far as resume, as far as planning for the future, goal setting. So it wasn't just a job. I definitely felt like I took a lot from that position, and just the people that was around, I was just absorbing all the knowledge. So it was really hard for me to leave, but it was really necessary for me to make sure everything was intact.
We know Andrew. He's an okay guy.
He's all right. Produces the podcast, whatever. So what I'm hearing from you, Jordan, is that you are involved in a ton of things. So I'm curious, how do you do it all? Do you struggle? Do you feel like it's hard to juggle everything?
I feel like it's hard, but at the same time, if you really like doing it, it gets really easy. That was my hobby. I think my parents asked, I know you're doing all this stuff, but what is your hobby? So I'm like, this is my hobby. I like supporting my community, whether it's on campus or the greater Wichita area. I just love helping people. I love advocating for people. I love learning about people. I love people. And I feel like I can't have a hobby where I'm not talking to someone or not trying to impact them in some way. I don't know, it's just something that's been my calling, and hopefully I can use that to translate to something, make that a career.
Absolutely. I mean, I teach in the communication school. You can definitely make a job out of communicating with people, so I'd say you're on the right track. And listening to your passion, you can tell you're headed in the right direction, that you are doing something that you love. So I think that's awesome. I've really enjoyed getting to hear about some of that today.
So based on some of your experiences, Jordan, what do you feel like you have gained professionally by being a part of this workforce leadership program? I've seen your growth over the last 4 years, so I'm just curious from your perspective, what are some of those things that you've gained professionally?
I can't really point like one skill that has just like successfully like taken off more than any other skill, but I would say I've learned a lot of skills as far as like seriousness and deadlining. Oh my gosh, I'm really bad with deadlines, but that's also with motivation too. So I don't know, it's not really a certain skill that I feel like is better than the other, but I'll probably say like just talking to people. I feel like the more you talk to people, the better you get at it, and also just like learn a different vernacular of like the business of which or the field that you're trying to be in. Like I've learned so many things, and it's
time management is one of those critical skills.
Most definitely.
For sure.
Most definitely.
Not just for you, but in general. And that's one of the things that we've really tried to improve. So yeah, time management, the ability to communicate, because those are things that transfer from career to career, you know, and I think your generation in general, you know, typically you're not retiring from somewhere for 30, 40 years. That used to be normal at some point in time. And so once again, that whole notion of this degree is really working on those soft skills, so your adaptability, your communication, your time management, those things to hopefully, you know, be able to translate as you guys transition and navigate through the variety of careers that you may encounter. So with that being said, you said that you wanted to go to law school. That's what a goal of yours. And so what does 2 to 3 years look like? So post-graduation, kind of what is that potential next step for you?
Whew. That's a toughie. That's a toughie, but great question. I would probably say 3 years from now, hopefully I could find a firm, a law firm. I want to get into entertainment law. Okay. So entertainment or corporate, maybe do a little patents. I'm really interested in those three things, most likely. But hopefully find a firm that I think fits my beliefs and also just interests me in what they're doing. I really want somewhere where I can find a home. Just look for a home. I have no idea where I want to move to because I'm actually really open to moving anywhere. I love moving. That's why I moved from St. Louis, or else I would have went to school there. I love Wichita State, and I love the city of Wichita. And I don't know, I'm just looking for what's next, but moving is not something I'm opposed to. I have no idea exactly what I want to do in 3 years or like what my life will look like. But I know if I just keep pushing the envelope, hopefully I'll find something that sticks and can keep me grounded.
It's kind of a fun place to be, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And I know you did an internship in New York, right? Did you not do one?
Oh, wow.
And so you had that experience of East Coast as well. So
yes.
Never too bad to rule out that place. I'm from East Coast, so I can say that.
Yeah, New York was amazing. The job I had there, I was a media intern for this company called the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Learned so many things about that because media has always been something that was really piqued my interest. Me being a kid, media was my whole life, whether it's from YouTube, video games, or even just playing around with different instruments as a kid. I always thought media was something that was super cool. So having an internship there and also wanting to do entertainment law, like those things fit hand in hand, and also helps with communication too, and helps me with terminology.
One thing I think is really cool, and I don't know if you've seen the dots, but as connecting as well, but kind of listening to you. So talk about the variety of experiences that you've had as working within media, working in an advising office, also having the experience of working for the franchise company, and all of the common themes that I'm seeing is that of, once again, helping people, the level of communication as well. And so that's another thing that we really try hard to do, is really try to connect those dots, because even though you're intrigued and have so many interests, and I think a lot of students these days are interested in so many things, but how can we tie those things together, and what is that undercurring theme? And so a lot of the things that you've been saying all tie back to communication and helping people, like you've said. So I really liked how you kind of were able to put all that out there for our listeners to be able to hear some of those things.
Yeah, it sounds like that degree program is very customizable, which yeah, is excellent, because I think it's exactly what you said, Bobby, that so many people, we used to have, I'm going to be a blank, and that was it, and that's your path, and it's linear, and all of that. And exactly, we're seeing students now that want to do a little of this and a little of that, and really wanting a custom education. And I feel like you've gotten that, it sounds like. And I would say, you were talking about the skills that you've gathered. From what I have heard from you today, I feel like confidence is a skill that you seem to have. I feel like you may not know where you're going to be in 3 years, but to me, it sounds like you know what you want, and you know that you are capable of getting it and who you are, which is really a huge part. I mean, that's what I try to impart to my students as I'm teaching. So I've loved hearing that from you. And I think that you're just an excellent example of how you can make the most out of your time here at WSU or, whatever university students might be at. So thank you again. We're really impressed with everything that you've accomplished, and we appreciate you coming on the show today. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jordan. And I also want to say thank you to Mark and Ricki for joining us on our show today. The Workforce Leadership Program has so much potential, and I know it's going to grow as time goes on. So I'm really excited to see what students will be coming through our doors over the next several years to come.
Yes, and thank you to everyone listening. We really appreciate your support and your viewership. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so shoot us some feedback, leave a comment, let us know what's on your mind. And I'd also like to issue a small challenge to our listeners today. So if you're someone who's been keeping up with us for a while and you've listened to a few episodes, and if you're finding value in what we're doing, do us a favor and just share this podcast with your friends. Our hope is to consistently grow our network and just keep on producing valuable content that you guys want to hear about. So on behalf of Bobby and I both, thanks for your support. Have a good one, and join us next time on Let's Talk About It.
Bye.